This story about the most ambitious mega project in human history will blow your mind. A 170-kilometer-long, 500 meters tall, mirrored city. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But this isn't fiction. It is the line, the crown jewel of Saudi Arabia's $8.8 trillion gamble on the future, a place they claim will redefine civilization itself. Yet, behind the glossy renders and mind-blowing architectural models lies a project filled with secrets, massive financial setbacks, and mysterious leadership shakeups. Judging by the scale of the project, it is absolutely okay for people to ask, is this really going to happen? Today, we're pulling back the curtain and taking you through the dramatic evolution of the line, from the time it was considered an outrageous dream to the scaled-down version now rising in the sand. When Saudi Arabia unveiled the line in 2021, the world didn't know what to think. It sounded insane, but also genius. The idea wasn't just about building a city. It was about erasing everything we know about how cities are designed. A city built in a straight line through blistering desert heat, surrounded by mirrored walls and powered entirely by renewable energy. All its housing, schools, and shopping are stacked vertically and accessible within 5 minutes. As expected, many people called it a mere illusion. Some saw it as a place where residents would be monitored constantly and every movement tracked in the name of efficiency. Still, the renders were mesmerizing. But behind the headlines, how would construction staff pull this off? Who would live there? And more importantly, who would pay for it? As excitement spread, so did the reality check. By 2023, whispers turned to headlines. The line was in trouble. Apparently, material and construction costs were spiraling. There were even reports from inside the project claiming that the early excavation stages were far more expensive than expected. For Saudi Arabia to embark on this massive project, it is supposed to have acquired the backing of a major financial institution ready to spend big on the project, right? Well, it turned out that the country had banked on its public investment fund, which was supposed to have bottomless pockets. But even their resources weren't infinite. Apparently, this financial institution was not solely the funding source of the line. It was equally the backbone of the NEOM project. To help you understand what this implies, the NEOM project is a planned futuristic city and region in northwestern Saudi Arabia. It is a project that will span 26,500 square kilometers, which is about the size of North Macedonia and Slovenia combined. The NEOM project is a larger mega-project that comprises various regions like the Line, a floating industrial port of NEOM, a ski resort in the desert, and an artificial island called Sindala, each with unique characteristics and purposes. And this is where the problems started popping up. As inflation and material costs skyrocketed, officials were reportedly scrambling to contain ballooning expenses behind closed doors. Then came the dagger, a massive budget reassessment led by foreign consultants. According to sources close to the project, even global banks were brought in to figure out how to cut costs without completely killing the vision. Soon after, leaks began surfacing that the line was being dramatically scaled back. Instead of building the full 170 kilometers by 2030, planners were now targeting just 2.4 kilometers. That's barely 1.4% of the original goal. Just when it seemed like the dream was collapsing under its own ambition, construction activity began picking up again. With much of the media focused on setbacks, one thing flew under the radar, and that's the fact that they actually started building it. And here's where it gets interesting. According to insiders, the 2.4-kilometer pilot zone of the line is now the main focus. It is actually a scaled-down prototype of the entire project meant to prove the concept before attempting the full stretch. While Saudi Arabia pitches the line as a beacon of the future, the reality on the ground tells a much harsher story. To carve out space for this mega project, entire communities of families who had lived on this land for generations had to be cleared. Among them were members of the indigenous Hawaitat tribe. They were reportedly offered compensation to relocate, which, as expected, was turned down by some. This resulted in a protest that led to the arrest of several tribe members. As a result, at least one man, Abdul Rahim al-Huwaidi, was allegedly shot during the public protests against the forced evictions. He had posted videos online, accusing the government of trying to silence his people, and days later, he was dead. Saudi authorities claimed he opened fire on security forces, while his supporters claim he was targeted for speaking out. In the shadows of innovation, there's growing unease. Is the line a marvel of progress, or a mirage built on displacement and silence? In the beginning, The line was backed by a roster of world-class architects, tech executives, and urban futurists. Names like Tom Main and Peter Cook, big players in global design, were featured in NEOM's glossy presentations. But fast forward to date and many of them are gone. Quietly, without press releases or public statements, several high-profile figures have vanished from the project's official listings. Key advisors were removed. Entire departments restructured, no explanations. Some insiders suggest that internal disagreements played a role. As cracks begin to show in the line's ambitious timeline, something subtle but important is happening behind the scenes. The spotlight is slowly shifting. In recent months, Saudi officials have ramped up promotion for NEOM's other mega projects. You probably heard less about the line and more about places like Trojena, a futuristic ski resort in the desert mountains, or Oxagon, the so-called floating industrial city shaped like an octagon. Insiders say this pivot isn't random, it's strategic. The goal? To draw global attention from the continuous criticism and skepticism surrounding the line and to project other mega construction. In fact, some analysts are speculating that the line might quietly shrink in scope, becoming more of a symbolic project, while the real investment and attention go into the more attainable parts of NEOM. So is the line still the crown jewel of Vision 2030? Or is it slowly becoming a distraction that Saudi Arabia is learning to outgrow? At first glance, the line seems like a utopia in the making. Zero carbon, no cars, AI-enhanced living. But when you strip away the buzzwords and marketing, a deeper question emerges. Is this actually about building a city or selling an image? Let's consider the pattern. Since day one, NEOM has spent millions, if not billions, on countless cinematic trailers, glitzy expos, global partnerships with influencers, media outlets, and even gaming companies. They've unveiled everything except a functioning city. Instead of gradually building trust through slow development, the line launched with full-blown promises. Instant cities, robot servants, vertical farms, flying taxis, but few of those features have materialized in any meaningful way. Apparently, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has staked his international reputation on Vision 2030. And at the very heart of that vision sits the line. It's not just another project, it's the symbol of his rule, his ambition, and his break from the old ways of Saudi leadership. To abandon the line now would be more than a technical failure. It would be a global humiliation. And in a region where political stability and international image are tightly interwoven, that's not an option. That's why, despite the delays, the criticism, and the logistical nightmares, construction continues. Even if only a few kilometers of the project are completed, the goal is to show something. A prototype, a segment, a proof of concept. Because sometimes, the illusion of progress is almost as powerful as progress itself. It's easy to mock the line, to roll your eyes at the flying taxis, the mirrored walls, or the idea of a city without streets. But imagine, just for a moment, what if it actually works? What if, even in a scaled-down version, Saudi Arabia succeeds in building the world's first truly vertical city? That would change everything. It could spark a wave of futuristic urban planning across the globe. And remember, the same skepticism once surrounded skyscrapers, bullet trains, even smartphones, until they became everyday life. Let us know your thought about this mega project in the comments section. Consider liking our video and subscribe to the channel for more mega construction stories. Until next time.